Peaceworker provides a way for people to dive really deeply into the life of an American city and apply Peace Corps values to life in the U.S.
The Peaceworker program for me, it gave me much more than I ever expected.
I mean, in one word, it's fantastic. It is a combination of graduate school education, a service placement, and ethical reflection.
I guess it would be like the full package.
The Peaceworker program is a program for returning Peace Corps volunteers that allows them to engage back home the skills and cross-cultural learning that they got abroad.
If you're looking for a graduate school education and other people who have gone through similar experiences being in Peace Corps, then it's a great opportunity.
Academically, it pays for you to go to a grad school program. Socially, it gives you a network of people to rely on, and then professionally, it connects you with a lot of people.
It's a combination of both a practical as well as the academic.
We earn graduate degrees and participate in service leadership positions in the Baltimore area and have a chance to connect with a group of other fellows who are similarly coming home and trying to put what they learned to work here.
The service that you do informs the learning and sort of vice versa.
There's an intersection of what you do in the world and the way you are in the world. There's an approach, and it involves a deep value around community, and I think the Peaceworker program has that.
My name is Eric Friedman, and I served in the Peace Corps in Bulgaria.
My name is Emily Sherman, and I served in Peace Corps Zambia.
Michael Defensor, Cameroon PCV.
My name's Jason Sharp, and I served in Haiti.
Shantanu Kundu. I served in Ecuador.
I'm Joby Taylor. I served in Gabon.
Megan Shutt. I served in Kyrgyzstan.
My name is Charlotte Keniston, and I served in the Peace Corps in Guatemala.
The Shriver Peaceworker Program is named for Sergeant Shriver. We are a program that carries more than just a name. It's a real legacy continuation. So we really do bring Shriver into the program and think about what key kind of strategies that he had. What is the recipe for practical idealism? How do you keep a sense of social hope even in very complicated intercultural settings or around issues that don't have easy solutions? And I think he's a model for that.
The Peaceworker program is a graduate program for returned Peace Corps volunteers who are interested in addressing urban social problems, and there are three main components to it. So there's ethical reflection, academic study, and service placement. And it's multidisciplinary, so people can do any graduate degree that's related to the work that they want to do.
Went to the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and I studied information systems.
My degree was in public policy.
My grad program was through UMBC, through the Urban Studies program.
I studied at UMBC to get my Master's of Fine Art in Intermedia and Digital Art.
So I studied public policy and kind of focused on urban policy.
I studied in the Language Literacy and Culture PhD program.
I worked on a Master's of Public Policy here at UMBC.
And I was going to school social work.
There's a service placement. So while fellows are doing full-time graduate study for 2 years, they're also working 20 hours a week with a community organization, which could be a government agency, a nonprofit, or a group on campus that's working to address some kind of social need.
As a peace worker, I was assigned to Walden Circle Community Center. I managed an after-school program and a summer camp for 50 to 60 kids.
I worked at the UMBC with a program called ClearCorps that worked on reducing childhood lead poisoning.
I coordinated a grant that the Shriver Center had from Learn and Serve America. It was part of the Corporation for National Service. This was a real chance to dig into learning about service learning.
So it's placed with the Sondheim Public Affairs Scholars on Campus. So they are a group of students who are interested in service broadly defined. They wanted to do community action-based research where they had a class of students doing some kind of research that would help a nonprofit or a government agency address a problem.
My placement, I was in Southwest Baltimore in a neighborhood called Pigtown. I was working with Paul's Place, which was a community-based organization. As a peace worker, I worked side by side with the social worker, at that time the director of programs.
In East Baltimore, I worked for Workforce Development Center for adults, and then later with this Youth Opportunities program, so it was for out-of-school youth.
My placement was at City Hall with Councilman Jim Kraft, who is the first district council member in Baltimore City.
I worked with the Success Program, which is a non-degree seeking program for students with intellectual disabilities at UMBC. And I worked with that program to develop a visual arts curriculum, photography curriculum.
For me, it was really a valuable experience because in an academic setting, you're talking about program management, you're talking about evaluation, and then I could go 20 hours a week and actually have the opportunity to put programs in place. So
being in Baltimore was just, like from learning about urban policy, and then with the Peaceworker placement, I was in the community doing some work and kind of seeing firsthand federal grant dollars that fund workforce development programs. How do those dollars actually get spent on the ground, and what does it look like? I mean, that was really like a great experience to see firsthand.
There's a third component, which is ethical reflection. That happens in a couple of different ways. One is we meet once a week for 2 hours.
For us, it was on Fridays, and we would speak about different aspects of our service and what's going on in the world today.
Another way we do ethical reflection is we take 3 retreats a year. We have some time to sit and reflect, plan for the semester.
I think it was really important to get the group together and to talk about not only their experiences during the past week, as well as some of the interesting ideas they were learning from school.
And yeah, we had really amazing discussions and reading, but not too much reading.
I feel like there's not very many places in life where you're asked to sit down and reflect on kind of what you're living. There's just not a lot of spaces for people to talk really deeply about what's happening in the world and how that affects our lives day to day.
having that opportunity to have that ethical reflection piece, I think that really carries a lot of weight to the program. We had the opportunity to get together folks that were, in different academic programs, talking about different hot-button issues.
Prac sessions were really a great opportunity to sit down with people who had similar life experiences, who had gone through the Peace Corps, and who were also working in Baltimore City or in similar contexts to talk through some pressing social issues and how they were affecting our work.
We're still having those conversations. We're just now out in the community working with a variety of different nonprofits. I know folks that are working with our federal government. We have peace workers that are overseas.
I really enjoyed being able to sit down at the end of the week, wrap up the week with people that had become my friends, and just talk about what I had done, what they had done, and just hear the whole spectrum.
I think for the Peace Corps specifically, Peace Worker fills a real need and a gap. There are many over the history of the Peace Corps that don't have an immediate context to put their skills to work or engage in ongoing lives of civic participation and peace building or service. So this is a real pathway for people to make that transition and have Peace Corps not just be a 2-year kind of experience of a lifetime, but it can kind of be a springboard towards life and career moving forward.
It's a great extension of the service that you did abroad, but now you're having the opportunity to focus on urban issues that are happening here at home.
Practically, I think participation in Peace Worker meant that I got to go to graduate school and have this whole new community of people who were here and working and interesting and doing great work and kind of ready to embrace all of the new peace workers as they came in. So it meant that I didn't come to a brand new city and not know anybody and have to start from scratch. There was, a group of people, a ready-made community here waiting for me.
So I was applying while I was still in Zambia. I was looking at all Coverdell programs. I came across this one and I thought it was awesome.
As a Peace Corps volunteer and previous graduate student, for a while it seems like I'd alternated doing service immersion kind of experiences and then coming back to school and doing academic work. As a peace worker, I got to bring those together and really learn how to integrate experiential learning and service learning and civic engagement into college and university classes.
When I left Peace Corps, I didn't go to grad school directly. I tried to be a photographer, a journalist, documentary photographer, whatever, for about a decade. And then finally, at a certain point, I decided this is not for me, and I wanted to figure out how to coalesce my experience in the field and life experience into more and focus it into an academic program.
I felt really called to come back to Baltimore City and work for Change Here. And I found out that UMBC had a graduate program for returned Peace Corps volunteers who wanted to work on social justice issues in Baltimore City. And I just felt like it was perfect. It was like divine intervention that I ran into it. It was exactly what I wanted to do when I got back.
When I learned about the Peace Worker program, as I was having discussions with those other schools, I just couldn't find something that was identical to the opportunity I thought I would have with the Peaceworker program.
The Peaceworker Fellowship was a really unique opportunity for me because I knew that I wanted to study visual art and I was really interested in documentary studies, and it was the only program that I found that allowed you to choose your graduate studies.
It segued exactly into my PhD dissertation, and it prepared me to step into the Peaceworker director role, so I got to put it right to work thinking about how that model of education would work for graduate school. The mission of the Peaceworker program is to translate those international experiences into graduate school and service leadership here in Baltimore region. It is an opportunity to learn pretty deeply about the context of an American city and all of the edges, history, and issues that involves. But there's no commitment to stay. Many people have stayed on, but many of our graduates have continued into international development careers, international service careers. I think that they take with them an expanded sense of the issues and needs and history of their own country and of a place like Baltimore. So for some, it's a 2-year experience of domestic work, and for others, it becomes a career path.
Almost anywhere where I go in Baltimore or people that I meet, everybody knows a peace worker, and the peace workers all have their fingers in like really interesting things here in politics and nonprofit and the schools and so many spheres of really important work that's happening in Baltimore, which tells me that the Peace Worker program is doing something right, that, you know, they're bringing in good people, creating these great conversations and experiences for those people, and then actually retaining a lot of those people to make an impact in Baltimore.
My Peace Worker placement led to a full-time job. The timing just worked out perfectly that as soon as I graduated, I started here at City Hall full-time.
I wanted to give back to the country that I came to. I came into the United States when I was 9. I got into the Presidential Management Fellowship Program through the U.S. government, and I work on refugee and asylum issues for the government.
I completed the Peace Worker program just a year ago. Since then, I've been working at the Bureau of Labor Statistics in Washington, D.C. I studied information systems, so database management. So I'm using those types of tools to look at the information, look at the data, the figures from around the country, how much the price of an apple has increased or decreased from month to month, which sounds simple, but when you think of 80,000 products all around the country, it's pretty complicated, and that's where our computer tools come into hand.
So I do evaluation work for a lot of different federal agencies. My biggest project is with the Social Security Administration. But basically we help evaluate federal programs.
I completed the Peaceworker program in 2006. I went and worked for Baltimore Mental Health Systems. We were having some initiatives that were doing a lot of mediation with different groups.
I came into the Peace Worker program, into my MFA program, kind of thinking I would do documentary type work, but then moved into a neighborhood in Baltimore City, got to know some neighbors and got really interested in food access issues and started learning about the history of interventionist art and happenings and art that could be used in really tangible ways to create social change. So I kind of changed my focus and ended up making art about food access in urban areas and working directly with community groups in the neighborhood that I was living in to do that.
The Peaceworker program, I think, deeply impacts the fellows. The impact that relates to the service leadership that the program engages, I think, is also deep and growing. It's a small program. We invite 6 to 8 fellows a year. But over time, the ripple effects of that work is, I think, really being felt.
Having some of those relationships really helped in kind of me being more of an engaged person in the world.
And, you had like this great group of people in your program and recent alums. It's just a good way to feel a part of a community.
Being with people that are always conscious of social issues and social justice and being surrounded by that and motivated by that in Baltimore and nationally and even internationally.
The Peaceworker program gave me a family, quite literally. I mean, not just the community that you're studying with, but my wife was in the same cohort. And in 2006, after we graduated, we got married.
I think it's a great opportunity if you are willing to put in the work and the effort and you care about making a difference, whether that be here or wherever you're going to go afterwards.
I know that it will have a lasting impact on the way that I think and the way that I live in the world, be that here in Baltimore or wherever I end up next. But I know that it's provided me with an incredible community of people who think really deeply and care really deeply and those people are all over the place.
I think the north of the program and most of our alumni are just making the world a better place than the one that we found when we got here.